And this is why you shouldn't go 50-50 with a man.
I just feel like you could have been nicer to me.
Girls, watch out for those broke men, because we don't want those in our life.
You just sat on your keister today, right? Because you had a treatment.
You live with your boyfriend, he make you pay half bills? I don't even live with my boyfriend. He's not even really my boyfriend. He pay all my bills.
You know, personally, I don't like to air my dirty laundry for all the world to see. Generally, I think that doing so is ultimately destructive to the overall health of the relationship, so I don't. That being said, there is something to be gained in the observation of others who don't share in my values on the matter of relationship privacy. With the invention of the internet, and more specifically social media, the public has willingly opened themselves up to the prying eyes of the uninvested third parties of the world. And those members of the public who've subjected themselves willingly to the joys of relationship bliss and perhaps later matrimony are far from an exception here. So there happened to be a plethora of materials to work with when navigating the minefield of how not to conduct yourself in a relationship. And I, dear viewer, have done you the service of compiling some examples of those most pressing issues facing the upcoming generation of happy couples. So without further ado, ladies, gentlemen, lizard people, and variants thereupon, my name is Weebo Jones, and today we will be taking a look under the hood at the absolute state of relationships, with respect to an unhealthy dynamic I like to refer to as the help and the wallet. Before we go any further, the statistics and the examples cited in this video are simply intended to provide some perspective on the broader scope of issues plaguing our society and not necessarily an indictment of any single individual. That being said, if you feel personally attacked by what it is that I'm citing or exemplifying or showcasing, if the shoe fits, then by all means, feel free to lace that bitch up and wear it. So back in June of 2020, there was a TikTok trend where one partner would tell the other, "I feel like you could have been nicer to me," with the intention of filming the partner's reaction.
Babe, I feel like you could have been nicer to me today.
What? I was nice to you the whole day. What are you saying?
One account, who at the time went by the handle @MikeAndCat, features presumably Mike asking Cat and the subsequent response.
I just feel like you could have been nicer to me.
Oh my gosh, well I feel like you could have done 80 more things today than you did. I feel like I woke up and I cleaned our room, I did our bed, I cleaned the sheets, I did the laundry, I put your clothes away, I come in the kitchen, nothing's done. So I do everything, then I make you breakfast, then I get the baby ready, then I get myself ready. And what do, Michael? You just tell me I could have been nicer. That seems pretty nice to me. And you thought I was pretty nice last night. Super nice, woo!
Damn.
Since the posting of that TikTok in June of 2020, the pair has split, as was confirmed in March of the following year, with Kat taking over the account. And while she has not made the audience privy to the reason for the split due to signing an NDA, if the initial TikTok is any indication of the behind the scenes of their relationship, I think we at least have some understanding that there was at least a discrepancy in the division of labor within the household. Now, witnessing this video, it got me wondering what the heck kind of perfect storm has to happen in order to have a blow up like that. And then I remembered my senior year roommates. It's at this point in the video that I'd like to take you with me on a trip down memory lane if you'd allow it. Allow me, dear audience, to regale you with the story of my own personal experience. A tale of woe that some of you who've watched my live streams circa 2019-2020 may in fact remember. The bane of my existence during my senior year of college as I lived in mandatory on-campus housing, complete with 2 bathrooms, a living room, a full kitchen shared between myself and 7 other people, split down the middle, 4 bedrooms across the one way, 4 bedrooms on my side. August of 2019, I would arrive on campus, excited to set up my room and meet my new dorm mates, 2 of which I had lived with prior to senior year. one of which had brought a plethora of dishes he so graciously let the rest of us use when necessary, as was the case the year prior. The first indication that something was awry was the dishes left in the sink and on the counter from previous cooking excursions by roommates on the other side of the common area divide. In the picture on your screen currently, you can see the strainer and the pot off to the side in one picture and the pan, spatula, and bowl left in the sink in another. A few days later, the pan and the spatula would come to be replaced with a pair of bowls and 2 sets of chopsticks in the sink, along with a spoon, plate, spatula, butcher knife, cutting board, and the lid for one of the pots on the counter behind it. Nothing too extreme, for these pictures alone suggests that there was a systemic issue, except for the fact that it had occurred to me to take the pictures at all. Why would that be? Well, because this scene had been established as something of a regular occurrence within the 2 weeks of living in this space at that point. Now, by September, the conflict had come to a head after several days of staring at the same pile of dishes in the sink. Luckily, the culprits seemed to have used their own dishes, rather than the communal dishes, to make the mess, so the subsequent resolution for working around their gross, unwashed dishes in the sink was to actually place those dishes in a box off to the side and pretend that they weren't there, and then go about our business using our own dishes. Kind of passive-aggressive, yes, I'll grant you that, but it was done. By October, the dish issue seemed to have been resolved via the box of unwanted dishes. However, as the days turned longer and the air turned colder, we were presented with a wholly new problem. That being the piling up of trash. Leaking trash, mind you, in the common areas. In addition to trash, various surfaces were being left grimy and dirty. The microwave, the stovetop, the table, the floor. No flat surfaces were spared contamination. And lastly, in an area I had not initially thought to check until the smell started to permeate the rest of the kitchen, we have the fridge. The quantity of expired food items in the fridge had surpassed the quantity of unexpired food items in the fridge. We're talking items that should have been thrown out all the way back in August. They were occupying space in the communal fridge, developing mold, souring, rotting. It was gross. I did end up chucking all the expired food the day I discovered them, before taking my grievances to the higher powers of the college dorm living entities. That final day in October, a roommate meeting was called with the resident advisor in attendance to resolve this growing issue of communal cleanliness to no avail. November saw the trash continue to pile up. The surfaces remained dirty. The box of unwanted dishes remained full, and in fact, its contents grew as the dirty roommates persisted to leave dishes in the sink day after day. It had been 21 days since the previous roommate meeting, but another eventually had to be called a week before Thanksgiving to discuss the absolute state of the common areas. Due to Thanksgiving break, finals, and the oncoming winter break, the dirty roommates didn't have enough time to disappoint us before the semester ended in December. But come February, after normal classes resumed, a floor meeting was called to reinstill the values of cleaning up after oneself in the minds of the dirty roommates, just to get ahead of everything. But by late February and into early March, they had, unfortunately, returned to their dirty ways. Probably the only good thing to come from being kicked off of campus in early March of senior year due to COVID was that I no longer had to contend with the dirty roommates from the other side of the building. So, yay. I'm not sure what happened to the contents of the box of unwanted dishes, but I can tell you that it was still full the day that I left my university campus, so there's no doubt in my mind that they probably remained there. Now I can look back on this time in my life with some amusement. However, having to put up with that kind of wanton disregard for communal spaces, enduring other people's sheer disregard and disrespect for myself and others who lived in that dorm as they treated our common areas like a pigsty, leaving everything messy, gross, disgusting, presumably for anyone else to clean up besides themselves over the course of half of a year, it drove me and others utterly bonkers. And that compounded when the problem started to affect us on our side of the building directly, because the smell did start to permeate to the sleeping areas, and the left out food and trash items started to attract bugs eventually. Yeah, it was gross. I'm not happy with how that went down. It was so gross. It was so gross. I had to toss out other people's rotting food, take out other people's heaping, leaking trash, set aside other people's dishes, clean up other people's grime left on surfaces that I needed to use before I could actually use them to do what I needed to do. And so much more. So much more. And I shouldn't have had to do any of that. I am not the help. I am not anyone's maid. These are adults, males and females, who should, methinks, be able to clean up after themselves, and yet didn't. But Weebo, you may be asking, what does this story and your experience with nasty roommates have to do with relationships? Everything. If you've ever had a roommate who didn't pick up after themselves, leaving common spaces an absolute mess, I am sure that you found yourself counting down the days till your lease was up so you could drop that person quicker than a sack of potatoes at one point or another. And if you haven't, you might just be that roommate from hell. But what if you love that roommate? What if you've made a lifelong commitment to that roommate? This is where things get infinitely more complicated. So there's a trend on TikTok where women essentially call it quits with picking up after their partners for a few days and instead record over the course of 2 to 5 days a day-by-day progression of updates on droppings within shared spaces by the partner. And when I say droppings, this can be anything from a piece of laundry on the floor to a dirty paper towel left on an end table to dirty dishes, appliances, anything really.
So there goes the lid. Boom, lid. Where's the trash can, you know? We're just gonna put this bag here and put trash in here instead of taking the trash out. I mean, is it man brain? Is it all the men? Is it just my husband? Is it husband brain? I mean, help me figure it out, because I don't. The door is right there. Just take it out right there. I can keep going all day. Let's get a little roll of tissue and leave the bag on the floor instead of picking it up. Or how about using wipes and not closing the back to leave it to dry up?
These videos, they're usually done in good humor to kind of poke fun at the other partner and their lack of consideration around the household for the cleanliness of the household. Here is a condensed saga of one woman's tale with her husband over the course of 5 days.
Okay, yes, I might be copying other people, but look, this is day 1. Socks, shoes, the ever-present used paper towels. His Amazon packages, not mine. These are his Amazon. What the fuck is this wire doing here? His Amazon packages, okay? Dishes. I cooked, so this is his problem. Left that out. Counter's gross. I don't know if you can see all that. Maybe he ate some chips. I don't know. He definitely had some cereal. He's got some cleaning up to do. All right, day 2, and this is his laundry that he did and folded, because today we found out there's COVID in the house and he was recovering from it. I tested positive today and feel like dog crap, so there's just this one thing left. All this stuff is pretty much gone. He did all the dishes. He made me a sandwich and heated me up some soup that I had made yesterday for him. This stuff is gone. So overall, doing well. Really quick day 3 because I do not feel good. Just some shoes. This table doesn't change too much, just garbage from snacks. A little more here. A few dishes. And nothing over there. Not bad. All right, day 4. No shoes this time. This table doesn't change very much. I think he might have been wearing them socks, but changed his mind I think you must have to return whatever came in this box because it's still here and the other ones are gone. There's where the wire went. Not far. What the fuck? Not bad. This is not where his droppings belong, though. And dishes in the sink, but that's because the dishwasher's clean and nobody wants to unload it. That's a hand wash. Those are hand washes. And no, I don't think he expects me to do these things. He's not waiting for me to. I kind of been waiting for him to, and it's just annoying to look at it until it's gone. Day 5. No day 5 update. I think we all get the point. So many people commented based on their own negative experiences in their life. I really don't mind, and he does clean up after himself. He does not expect me to clean up that stuff. I would like him to stop leaving used paper towels everywhere, but I don't think that's ever going to happen, and I'm okay with that. But anyways, it was all just for fun, you know. Yeah, I can definitely have a conversation with my husband, and he listens, and we talk, and he's very, very clean. He's just got the drops. I call him my husband droppings. Puts him in the wrong spot. I made him a spot, and he doesn't use it. He still uses the kitchen counter. And that's okay. He cleans it off eventually, and it doesn't drive me crazy. We're good. We're good. But thanks for all the marriage advice. But for those people who are like, oh my gosh, my husband does the same thing and blah blah blah, you get it. You get it. Yeah, that's what it was about.
It really isn't that big of a deal. The woman's husband dropping habits don't even come close to what I had to contend with in college, and her reaction is not overblown. No roommate meetings had to happen, and there is no box of unwanted dishes. The series reads like a little exercise in observation and taking the piss for the most part. Couples do that. It's not a big deal. Where the series I think gets interesting is in the comments.
Oh, everyone, newsflash. We're only allowed to do this, meaning stop picking up after your husband, if you have a job. If you don't have a job, it's part of what you're supposed to do, because that is your job, and you can get fired if you don't do it. Right? Time waster 980, 60, whatever. I can hardly see it. It's not worth saying. Anyway, just also wanted to say my husband is very clean. He's meticulously clean. He just is kind of a dropper instead of a, touch it, put it away first. Don't put it down, put it away. He's like, just put it down. And he'll get to it eventually. I take those videos at night after he goes to bed, normally after falling asleep on the couch, because he's very tired. He works very hard. And he'll get to it. He'll clean it up. He doesn't expect me to do it. Sometimes I just do, but I just decided, let me not and see what happens. Not too much. He does kind of clean up after himself, but this comment, no.
So, full disclaimer. I did do some internet sleuthing around this lady's TikTok, and she does work. I don't know doing what, but her and her husband both do work. However, and I am addressing the commenter, not the husband here, I just have to say, even if she was a housewife who happened to stay home all the time, I wonder, where would one even purchase the audacity to treat, without a second thought, someone that they supposedly loved and cherished as if they were there for your lazy-ass convenience? Who is out here teaching you that you have any right to be picked up after, like you are some holy Roman emperor too important to throw his own gross paper towels away? Like you're some Queen of Sheba too indispensable to bother replacing the Cheerios where you got them from after a midnight snack. That seems incredibly removed from reality to me. Like, oh, your majesty, allow me to wipe thine glistening posterior with only the finest of silks to spare you the indignity of such an indecent task, O holy one. Are you kidding me? What kind of diluted self-important fantasy are you living in that you can just exempt yourself from being a half-decent cohabitant who is considerate of the person who supposedly you love and does work that you rely on? That you can just think you could just come home to a clean, put-together house and start mucking it up because that's her whole job is astounding audacity to me. The lack of appreciation and disrespect that shows that you have towards the person that you love and what they contribute, shame. And that's really what I want to address in my video here. The consideration of your fellow humans, or lack thereof in the case of relationships, on both fronts. So let's get into it. Miss Messy TikTok is a Ukrainian woman who, around the filming of the TikTok that you just saw, was a full-time student, a mom of a 5-year-old who also worked to clean her husband's Airbnb house. Much of her day-to-day spent cleaning and schooling would take her out of the house for long hours, making it difficult for her to keep on top of cleaning and cooking within her own home, while her husband, who worked less hours, enjoyed leisurely mornings and evenings off. All of this culminated into a perfect storm.
About a month ago, I stopped cleaning the house and putting away clean laundry to prove to my husband that I was the only one doing everything this whole time. He freaked out and started throwing away my cleaning supplies. He said I won't need it since I don't clean.
And in response,
my husband said he doesn't make any mess in the house, so I haven't been picking up after him completely for the past 3 weeks. He said he can't live in the messy house and went to see his mom overseas for 3 weeks. I am so happy.
Which helped Miss Messy TikTok to realize something.
So since my husband freaked out that the house is messy and left to Europe for 3 weeks, I'm the happiest person ever. By the way, AC filters and AC vents are my husband's only task, which he never does. I enjoy being in a peaceful and quiet home.
You can probably imagine what happened from there.
I'm moving y'all.
So, no, I don't want your number, no. I don't want to give you my...
Now, I know what you're thinking in your head. Why show us this? A TikToker's anecdotal lived experience is not emblematic of a systemic issue facing the public today. And to that I have to say, are you sure about that? Because the story of Miss Messy TikTok and her husband adventures is not all that an uncommon one for women to find themselves contending with in the modern day relationship economy. And audience, I hope you know that by now. I wouldn't just come at you with a TikTok video, cite it as proof of a widespread phenomenon, then call it a day. No. Absolutely not. And if you did not know that, hi, you must be new here. I know you're smarter than to simply take an internet person at their word, which is why all of these fun facts I'm about to cite for you are linked in the pinned comment down below. Now, the U.S. Department of Labor Statistics cites that 47% of the total civilian labor force in 2021 was occupied by females, a dramatic leap since as early as 1948 when female participation in the labor force was 28.6%. So, we have near gender parity within the workforce, which is excellent for the women, but not nearly as much parity within the home when it comes to household duties and management. A 2019 Gallup poll asked heterosexual couples who were either married or living together who was more likely to do each of the following in your household. About 12 household tasks. Of the 12 household tasks measured, 8 were reported as being more likely to be performed by women. These included things such as making decisions about furniture and decorations, laundry, cleaning the house, preparing meals, caring for children on a daily basis, grocery shopping, washing dishes, and paying bills. Of the 12 household tasks measured, 2 were reported as being more likely to be performed by both men and women. These included planning family activities and making decisions about savings and investments. And of the 12 household tasks measured, only 2 were reported as being more likely to be performed by just the man. These included keeping the car in good condition and yard work. Now, credit where credit is due. According to the same study, distribution of household tasks has become more equitable since 1996, and the gap in household tasks has lessened for things such as handling grocery shopping, laundry, cooking, dishwashing, and cleaning, while the gap has either increased or remained stagnant for decision-making about savings or investments in keeping both the car and the yard in good condition. But things still have yet to even out between the sexes. Beyond the unequal distribution itself, the effects this phenomena can have on women, men, and their relationship as a whole is actually also worth interrogating as well. Because I can assure you, where there is unequal distribution of household labor, problems do in fact arise. First off, housework overload has shown to have a positive association with increased likelihood for common mental disorders in women, or CMDs. And just so we're on the same page, CMDs are characterized by symptoms such as fatigue, forgetfulness, insomnia, irritability, difficulty in concentration, headaches, and psychosomatic complaints. Whereas housework overload includes things such as domestic activities like washing, ironing, cleaning, and cooking, when weighted according to the number of individuals living in the home. So Panel et al. 2012 concluded that women with high housework overload had a higher prevalence of CMDs at 45.6% than women with low overload at 36.2%. Secondly, relationships where women assume sole responsibility for household administrative tasks like organizing schedules and maintaining order within the household have been positively associated with strains on the mother's personal well-being, in addition to lower relationship satisfaction with her partner, according to Thexsoar et al. 2019. Thirdly, it should be obvious, but it has been shown that perceived inequity in the division of household labor among dual-earner marriages is negatively associated with marital happiness from both husbands and wives. However, in only the case of the wife did Frisco et al. 2016 find that this perceived inequity increased the odds of the couples divorcing. And so, to summarize, women make up nearly half of the US workforce. Women do most of the housework in the US. Housework overload has been positively associated with psychological distress in women. Perceived sole responsibility as household admins is positively associated with a strain on mothers' emotional well-being, with the added bonus that these women report lower relationship satisfaction, and perceived inequity in the division of household labor is negatively associated with marital happiness, and in fact, increases the odds that the wife divorces her husband. So, with conflict and arguing being one of the top contenders for reasons why couples divorce, is it any wonder why women might be initiating divorce 70% of the time, given these statistics? Certainly it's no mystery in the case of Miss Messy TikTok. But in order for women to divorce their husbands, they must first find a husband. And in that respect, women are in trouble. And for my next attack on traditional gender roles, I will be setting my sights on the rigidity of males as the sole provider of our species, or the wallet. But first, let me set the scene. Recall, if you will, my story about the roommates from hell. Luckily, my situation was not the case, where we were locked into a lease and each contributing a portion of the total rent to a landlord. In a dorm situation, you pay room and board, and that covers the cost of your living space and utilities outright. But I have to wonder, if the situation had been a leasing situation, would finances have been a contributing stressor on the relationship? There are countless stories out there of people who've had bum roommates or landlords who've had bum tenants who were delinquent on paying rent. There are even more stories of people who leech off of others shamelessly. These are the people who never pay for their own food or drinks or transportation, are never the ones hosting the parties, but are always the ones showing up to drink your beer and eat your food. Maybe even crash at your place 6 nights out of 7 and have their mail redirected to your place. Inch by inch, they encroach upon your life, home, finances, slowly taking them over. Until suddenly, one day, you wake up and there they are, taking a shower in your home, brushing their teeth with your toothbrush and wearing your favorite hoodie. Congratulations, you have a squatter. I mean girlfriend. Just kidding. I jest. But do I? Courtney Ryan is a YouTuber whose stated channel goal is helping men to elevate their style, dating, and personal development. And on December 11th, 2022, she published a video entitled Asking Women About Male Income. What is enough? $650K? In which she interviewed 7 women asking questions like, what is your ideal partner age? What is the ideal lifestyle? What is the ideal income for your man? What do you think is the median income for age 31 males, etc.? You can watch the full video at the link in the pinned comment below, but for our purposes, we'll be focusing on 2 of the questions in this video and the responses by female participants. First, I'll display how much were the women in the video comfortable with contributing to household incomes, and I'll follow it up with their responses when they were asked what is the ideal income for their husbands.
I would be comfortable contributing 50-50,
Okay.
but I would prefer that it be more so like 40-50.
Okay.
Like me
40-60. Like you,
Yeah.
the 40, them the 60.
Yeah, and I feel like ideally my husband needs to be making like $650,000.
I'd be okay with, I never thought of this. I don't know. These weren't the things that I fixated on the most when I envisioned my partner, But if I had to throw it out there, like maybe half or a little under half, I'm probably...
We'll go 50-50 top.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just like to preface this as saying this is not do or die. But based on where I'm at, if he makes between, like, anywhere from 70 to 100K.
Ooh. So I personally, I would not mind contributing like majority, but I would say no more than 70% of household income. To say 127. Ideally, like if they're in an industry where they do have longevity and they know like, hey, every single year I'm gonna get a raise between like 3 to 5%, which, you know, it just depends. Like I would be comfortable with that.
So I really want to be a stay-at-home mom. So like, if that doesn't work out with the person I'm with, then it doesn't work out. But that is like how I picture myself as a mom and a wife. So I guess I wouldn't be contributing financially. That's tough because I feel like I would have to like break down like how much it actually like costs to have kids and like travel and the house and all that. And I don't really know. But I think for me to be comfortable like staying at home and not working, like I feel like this is gonna sound bad. I feel like 300,000. Like I guess if they made less than that, I feel like we wouldn't have the lifestyle I wanted, so I would work.
Right. But you're talking ideal lifestyle. Like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
your dream life. 300K for you to be able to.
I think so.
Be a stay-at-home mom
And
not
have
to
3
worry
kids
about it.
and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like life's expensive.
I don't want any of my income to be needed in the family. I want the man to be 100% the supporter, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to work and I'm not going to have my own business or whatever.
But you would want the family to be able to live solely off of your
yes,
husband's income.
100% solely off of my husband. I don't want me to have to use my income at all, but that's not because I'm not going to be working or I'm not going to have my own stuff going on. It's just because I want the freedom to be able to take care of my kids for the first 7 years of their life. I want to be a stay-at-home mom and be with them basically 24/7. Okay. I think that's important in the family structure, so that's pretty much the only reason why.
Okay, so you would choose stay-at-home mom. So 0%, we'll say.
Yes.
Okay.
$500,000? Is that bad? I know that 1% of men make $500,000, or less than 1% of men or something.
50-50 is definitely acceptable, and that's what I'd enjoy. I wouldn't enjoy feeling like someone has to take care of me. I don't like relying on people or men or really anyone for money. I think that's totally just unacceptable. That's just how I... Probably 150 to $250,000 a year. That's my guess.
Okay, and you would contribute also 50-50.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
You'd be willing to do up to 50.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If I'm painting a picture, if it's my ideal life, I would love to just be a stay-at-home wife with some hobbies and, raising a family, because that's just the way I grew up. I had a stay-at-home mom, and it was just a really good environment to have.
Okay, so ideally that's what you would want.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
What would it have to be?
To support this life.
Which is so funny, because I saw this video the other day where it was saying, if your wife can spend more than you make, you need to make more money. So it really just depends. But I mean, just to have a really decent lifestyle and be supported well, 150 maybe to 250,000 a year would be comfortable for sure. The more the merrier, but that'd be comfortable.
Now that was a lot of speaking, and I understand if maybe you can't process or visualize it in your head very well. So to help you, I have taken the liberty of making a chart comparing stated amount of their own preferred contributions to the ideal incomes of their husbands. If they gave a range for income, I did take the average. Because the original questions were dollar amount versus a percent, I had to make a few assumptions to estimate the wife's income. In order to do this, I took the husband's expected income, assumed he was contributing 100% of his to the household, and then I assumed the wife would also be contributing 100% of her own income to the household. I then multiplied the husband's contribution by 2, took the total amount and multiplied again by the percent expected to be contributed to the household on the part of the girls in the video, to yield the final view. And as you can see, in one instance did the wife's income surpass the man's. In 2 instances were the contributions equitable, and across 4 instances were the contributions inequitable, with 3 of those instances being a 0 to 100% ratio. So the conclusion we can draw, based off of this very, very small set of data, is that women expect men to predominantly be the breadwinner or the wallet when it comes to the family unit. But 7 Instagram influencers in a video about women's expectations of men, how well does that data really translate to reality? I wonder. Well, lucky for you, I went and did some digging in the data. At first glance, the discourse on the internet regarding women's expectations would suggest that there are a decent amount of women who do expect for men to be providers. And this ranges from reasonable expectations to unreasonable expectations.
Would your man stay with you if you decided to stop paying half the bill?
What? Wait. You live with your boyfriend, he made you pay half bills? I don't even live with my boyfriend. He's not even really my boyfriend, and he pay all my bills. I had to pump my own gas the other day because he was working and I was traumatized because I haven't pumped my gas in a year. I haven't paid for my own Starbucks in a year. And he was mad too. He was like, you couldn't just have waited for me to get off work to pump your gas. No, I had places to go. Honey, throw him away. Throw him away. Throw him away. And get you a man. For God's sakes.
When I'm in a relationship, I don't believe in spending my money on my man. His money is for me. My money is for me. Okay, so that means when we go out, we go on dates, we go shopping, we do whatever, we are using his money. My money does not get touched, okay? That is just the standard. Argue with your mama.
And statistically, this does track. Despite the growing number of women providers in today's economy, 71% of surveyed adults say it's very important for a man to be able to support a family financially in order to be a good husband or partner, compared to the 32% who say it's important for a woman to be able to support a family financially in order to be a good wife or partner. So it's important to women. I mean, it's important to men too, but it's important to women. In fact, in 2019, Litcher et al. Found that there was a distinct lack of economically attractive prospects for husbands in the marriage market, where economically attractive males were defined as men with stable jobs and good incomes. Which makes sense, as the median weekly incomes of full-time working men in the United States, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics for the third quarter of last year, is about $713 for 16 to 24-year-olds, $1,043 for 25 to 34-year-olds, and $1,299 for 35 to 44-year-olds. Assuming those men worked 50 work weeks out of the year, that's an annual income of about $35,650, $52,150, and $64,950 respectively. And this is not just a phenomenon that's unique to the United States. This tracks across several nations. A 2022 study of 1.8 million online daters from over 24 different countries by Johnson et al. Indicated that one's capacity for resource acquisition, or getting them fat stacks, had a positive effect on attention received across all 24 nations, with a marked sex difference in high-income earning men receiving 2.5 times more attention than that of high-income earning women. A phenomena that persisted across all 24 nations in the study. So, with such pervasive ideas driving preferences in the dating marketplace, it's no wonder men also think it's important for them to be good providers. On its own, there's nothing wrong with wanting to provide or wanting a provider in a partner, just like there's nothing wrong with wanting to homemake or wanting a homemaker in a partner. The issue comes in. However, when the expectations of the role of providing, like with homemaking, contribute to the detriment of the individual and the relationship overall. There is a pressure that men feel to be providers that can rear its ugly head in very devastating ways. The Great Recession saw at least 10,000 additional economic suicides between 2008 and 2010, with a 4-fold increase in suicide rates among men during this time. Men's employment, their capacity to provide, plays a big role in men's mental health and their self-worth overall. When that's challenged, when it's hindered, men suffer. And it's no wonder if the predominant expectation of a middle-aged man is to provide for not just himself, but his wife, their kids, perhaps even parents, in-laws. That is a ton of pressure. But men don't just kill themselves over a lack of employment and capacity to provide being hindered. The drive to provide pushes a lot of men to take more dangerous jobs with the highest probability of on-the-job fatalities like logging, fishing and hunting, roofing, etc. Despite those jobs not even paying out the risk that they're worth. And those men that do survive, maybe they're not working in the more dangerous jobs. Maybe they're working in the physically demanding jobs, as men are more likely to do. Well, as a result, they're at a higher risk for early mortality, because the physical demands of the job are so much, take so much of a toll on the men's body, that later on in life, things break down easier. Their heart is more stressed out, generally speaking. And men aren't just working more dangerous jobs or physically demanding labor jobs. They're also working longer hours than women across the board. On average, men work 1.04 more hours on a weekday and 1.45 more hours on Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays than women do. That's 8.1 more hours in a week. Assuming 50 work weeks in a year, that's 405 more work hours that men spend at their jobs in a year compared to women. So that drive to provide for men is so compelling that men overall spend more time working in jobs that are a detriment to their overall health, that could possibly kill them, and when that capacity is impeded, their mental health suffers, sometimes to the point that they kill themselves. All to provide for their family, or for the prospect of one even. But what effect does that provider expectation actually have on the relationship as a whole? Well, Cycle 2010 examined provider role attitudes in dual earner couples and the long-term correlation with marital satisfaction, role overload, and the division of housework. They measured across 4 classes of provider role attitudes. Main secondary, where the wife's earnings were supplemental incomes, helpful to the family unit, but with husbands as the primary providers. Co-providers, where husbands and wives saw themselves sharing the breadwinning responsibility equally with each other. Ambivalent co-provider, where the wife's contributions were central, as frequently husbands could not actually fully support their families, but these couples still viewed wives' breadwinning responsibilities as limited. And mismatched couples, where couples had misaligned attitudes generally. And Cycle 2010 found that co-provider couples consistently reported higher levels of marital satisfaction compared to the other 3 classifications. Spouses in the ambivalent co-provider groups were unique in their reports of role overload. Co-provider couples were unique in their egalitarian division of housework, with wives completing 59% of the housework on average. And in fact, the division of housework was not more equitable for ambivalent co-provider couples than main secondary or mismatched couples, with wives completing an average of 81% of the housework for both ambivalent co-provider and main secondary couples. Basically, a direct refutation for anyone who might criticize the 50-50 rule. Full shade, moving on. Ishizuka, 2018, found that couples with greater earning inequality, where one party is economically dependent on the other, have a higher probability than the marriage will eventually end in divorce than those couples with more equal earnings. So not only are men out there killing themselves for their families, but it would seem that all the hustle and bustle is no more beneficial to the relationship between man and wife. So what does this mean? Well, fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on who you are, we can't simply replace women's capacity to earn fat stacks of cash back into the cute little box that is the 1940s housewife aesthetic. I'm sorry to say. It's open. Women are going to college, they're earning more and more every year, they're breadwinners now. They've entered the workplace, they've taken on the provider role. It's finished. On top of that, they keep house and raise kids too. I don't see why we can't now relax the expectations that we put on men as a society to relieve some of that pressure on their shoulders to be providers and only providers. Women don't need a man to pay for everything. Women can pay for dates too. Women can be providers. You can treat your man. Some of the women out there maybe need to renegotiate their expectations a little bit with themselves because they're not super realistic in the current day and age. Or ever, really. Let's be frank. Women, you don't need to take on all the housework. You can delegate some of that. Many hands make light work, I say. And men, you don't need to pay for everything, okay? Let yourself be treated. It's a pretty nice feeling. Take a more active role in your kids' lives. Research has shown that children whose fathers took a more active role in their life do tend to have stronger cognitive and motor skills, enjoyed elevated levels of physical and mental health, become better problem solvers, and overall are more confident, curious, and empathetic. Man and wife, you're a team in this game that we call life, so fucking act like it. I don't know what to tell you. So to reiterate, I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with a relationship that ascribes to traditional gender roles on its own. I think if that works for your relationship, more power to you. Go ahead, do you, boo-boo. It's when the gender roles lend themselves to toxic and unhealthy expectations in the relationship that I take issue. It's when in your head, your girlfriend or your wife is no longer a homemaker, rather she becomes the help, a non-person in your life whose purpose it is to clean up after you, cook for you, fulfills the role of your invisible servant and caters to your every need before you can even think of it. I take issue with that. Likewise, when in your head, your boyfriend or your husband is no longer a provider, rather he's become a wallet, a non-person in your life whose purpose it is to pay for your every whim and want, in addition to needs, who fulfills the role of your ATM regardless of budgetary constraints. I take issue with that. You can't treat your husbands like a wallet, and you can't treat your wives like the help, and expect a healthy outcome in the end. The same is true of the inverse cases too. The heart of this video is that it's important that we recognize that for a relationship, over the course of the relationship, for the sake of the relationship, we shouldn't be taking our partners and the things that they do for us for granted. I'm not black-pilled enough to think that most relationships start out with partners taking advantage of other people's good natures and kindness and efforts. Although I'm sure those people exist, I've certainly seen enough TikToks to suggest that there are people that are that entitled out there, and they're not gonna have a good time of it in the long term. But I'm not talking to them. What I'm saying is that I think it's easy to gravitate over time towards one extreme or the other. Whether someone's doing too much housework or working themselves ragged for whatever reason, they've taken on too much, overloaded their role, if you will. And it's maybe starting to take its toll on them and your relationship. So it's within everyone's best interests for you to take a beat, notice all of that going on, and check in with your partner. Maybe say, hey, you okay? Is there anything I can do to help around the house maybe? Or, hey, how you doing? You've been working longer and longer hours recently. What's up? Guys, compassion and consideration for your fellow human goes a long way in general, but it is an absolute must in any relationship. I cannot emphasize that enough. So if you were looking for a quick and dirty way to summarize the thesis of this video, it would be this. Your partner should have the grace to accept from you rather than the nerve to expect of you. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely Valentine's Day.